Hello everyone. Let's begin with an introduction to PMO maturity. PMO maturity refers to the level of capability, consistency, and effectiveness with which a PMO delivers its services and supports organizational objectives. Now let me say that in very simple English. PMO maturity shows how well the PMO has grown up in the organization. Stay with me here. Every PMO starts somewhere, and none of them start perfect. I have seen PMOs judged unfairly simply because people expected advanced results from a very early stage setup. So now that we understand what PMO maturity really means, the next thing to explore is why maturity even matters. Here's why maturity matters. PMOs are not all meant to do the same things at the same time. In everyday terms, you can't expect a beginner PMO to act like a world-class one. You've probably seen this at the office. A PMO is newly formed, but leadership expects instant strategic impact. I once heard a PMO lead say, "We are being measured by outcomes we are not yet built to deliver." That's a maturity gap. So now that we see why maturity matters, the next step is understanding how maturity is viewed in stages. PMO maturity is usually described in levels or stages. Let's break this down together. Early stages focus on basic control and visibility. Later stages focus on value, strategy, and optimization. I remember working with a PMO that struggled with reporting accuracy. Instead of pushing advanced analytics, they fixed basics first. Once foundations were stable, growth felt natural. Maturity is about progression, not perfection. So now that we understand maturity as a journey, the next question is, what maturity is actually measured against? Maturity is measured against how consistently and effectively the PMO performs its role. In simple terms, it's not about having documents, it's about how work really happens. You've probably seen PMOs with many templates that nobody uses. I once helped assess a PMO that had fewer documents but much better adoption. That PMO was more mature than it looked on paper. So now that we understand how maturity is assessed, the next step is seeing who benefits from understanding PMO maturity. Understanding PMO maturity helps both the PMO and leadership. Let me put that cleanly. It sets realistic expectations. You probably notice frustration when leaders want results faster than systems can deliver. I've seen maturity discussions calm those tensions by answering one honest question. Where are we today? Once that was clear, improvement plans made sense. So now that we understand who maturity helps, the final step is seeing how maturity models are actually used. When PMO maturity is understood clearly, improvement becomes intentional instead of reactive. The PMO stops copying others blindly and starts building capabilities step by step. Leaders support growth instead of demanding shortcuts. Maturity models turn comparison into guidance. So now that we've explored what PMO maturity is and why it matters, the next natural step is to dive into the different PMO maturity levels and what each one looks like in practice, which brings us directly into PMO maturity stages and models. We are going to discuss OPM3 overview in details in next chapter.